welcome to the original Rochester Press Box. Thanks for joining us. I'm Bill Pucko, joined by John DiTullio, Fox 1280 Sports.
I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to be in your company.
Oh, just try. Mike Catalana, 13 WHAM News.
Loving the turtleneck today. Good look for you.
Buddy, I tell you, my wife is anti-turtleneck.
Really?
This is why I'm wearing it.
Ooh, little protest.
John's sidekick on WHDK, Fox 1280 Sports. Dan Moriarty. Danny,
he's the only guy I know that wears a turtleneck.
What do you mean? A lot of guys wear it.
Name one guy.
We're going to
Jamie
cover
Foxx
fashion.
in the movie Annie. You see Jamie Foxx in the movie Annie is wearing a turtleneck, Billy.
That was
John,
like
focus
1970. What?
Danny.
2014.
We had LeBron James and I Can't Breathe T-shirts coming out this week. In a larger sense, where does sports and athletes in particular, where's the appropriate protest line drawn, do you think?
I kind of find it interesting seeing socially conscious athletes, because I grew up, when I was a kid, guys I watched were Michael Jordan, guy known for saying, hey, Republicans buy sneakers too, and Tiger Woods, who's never taken a stance on anything. Jordan, the first time I ever heard him take a stance was this year for Donald Sterling. He was one of the first people to speak out, which was shocking because he's never done that in his career. So to see LeBron James at the platform that he has, kind of showing that he's socially conscious and making a statement, first of all, I'm surprised by it because I'm not used to it. But I think it's refreshing to see athletes that are socially conscious just because I'm not used to that.
Bigger picture, too, though, isn't there, Mike?
Well, I think it depends on how you want to look at it. I had no problem with the T-shirt. I think that is more of a statement than a protest. I just said, as I said to you guys last week, take it steps farther and see if people would have a problem with it. Now, the statement there, the I Can't Breathe shirt, I think makes a statement, but I don't think it's that big of an issue in that way. But I go back to being socially conscious. You can be socially conscious. You don't have to do it at the NBA game, especially if you're LeBron James. You get attention wherever you go. I do think down the line, depending on what the message is, leagues or teams could have a problem with it because it's not always going to be so universally, I'll say, accepted or universally let go in this way because the NBA didn't do anything about it.
The league is, 75% African-American. Mm-hmm. The audience of the NBA, let's take younger demos, younger African-Americans are watching it. Toxic times right now. Amen to LeBron for at least having an opinion on such an issue that has galvanized this entire country. Not only what happened in New York, but what happened in Ferguson. So amen. Where do you draw the line? I don't know. I have no idea. I guess that depends on what the issue is and who is the owner of that certain team. Adam Silver has come out and commended the players for wearing it.
But don't you think that he went back into his office and gathered some of his closest friends and say, we got to get a handle on this before somebody comes out in a T-shirt with something that we can't as easily
And Roger Goodell, to his credit, did the same thing with the Rams issue. He let it go.
But don't you think he almost had to?
He had to. Well, Goodell, come on.
Yeah, Goodell
wanted to say something, but he has zero credibility and zero cachet. Right now, Silver has all the cards.
And like I said to you, it depends at what level you are doing this. But you have to understand that at some point, depending on what the message is, a player or a team could, or a league could subject someone to some form of repercussion for it. Again, this is one, I don't have any problem with it at all, but take it steps farther and see if the message is accepted as much as it is by a team or by a league.
Danny, you made it personal off the top saying, I was glad to see LeBron wear the shirt. If LeBron comes out in a support cops T-shirt, do you feel any differently about
I think as long as he's educated on the topic that he's obviously showing support for either way. Again, I think it's refreshing to see a socially conscious athlete. Now, like you guys are saying, if the leagues start pushing back, right now I think the athletes are kind of testing the boundaries a little bit.
Yeah.
If the leagues start pushing back and there's fines and whatever, because Adam Silver did say, it's not really part of the uniform policy, so he could fine the players, I guess, for that. So if the league says that that's not something you can do and they start fining them, then so be it.
Nothing happened to Bill Walton. Nothing happened to Muhammad Ali. I love when I see anybody of any type of stature or credibility take a stand. I love it.
It's the Bills and the Packers when we return.
And you don't need to be Native American to realize it is offensive. And it's not politically correct. It's the right thing to do.
he was an idiot for throwing him that pitch. The guy's phenomenal. He had no reason to give him anything, especially a fastball to hit.
It's simply that these two guys, Ronaldo and Tom Brady, are too good looking.
I like it, just don't admit to it.
Everybody wants to hate on the best in the world. You know, he's here to stay, and he wants to build something big time.
The bottom line is, still nobody's going to like A-Rod.
Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. It is time to look at the Buffalo Bills game. Mike Catalana, the Bills are a 5-point underdog, hosting the Green Bay Packers in another one of these must-wins.
Yeah, only 5 points against Green Bay is tough because they can put so many points on the board. And going into, before the Denver game, and John and I have talked about this before, I like the Bills at home against almost anybody, I think, because of the way the defense plays. But then I watched the defense play like they did against Denver and basically make Peyton Manning into an ordinary quarterback, a game manager in there. He did nothing against them, and they were still getting beat 24-3. Yeah. That's the part that worries me. This offense right now is so pedestrian that I think the defense could play lights out Sunday. And I do think they'll play well, and I do think they will stay in the game, but you're only talking about 5 points here. I've got Packers winning this one by a touchdown. Same thing I picked last week. In control of the game, winning it by a touchdown. I'll say 24-17.
Johnny, how do you see it?
I think it's reversed from Denver, where Denver jumped out to the big league. I think this one is close. I really do. And then eventually, Aaron Rodgers will just wear you down. Him and Jordy Nelson will make plays. I think the Bills and the emotion, and it's a must-win, everything. I think Orton actually may play well, and I think the Bills will be able to move the football a little bit better than they did last week. But in the end, you can't trust Kyle Orton in this offense. I'll take the Packers probably winning 27-13.
Who like Green Bay or New England? Best team in NFL right now.
Right. Total complete package, yeah. New England's defense is better than Green Bay's. On a neutral field, I think New England would be favored.
All right. Packers favored by 5 this week, Dan.
I'm taking the Packers. If it was 7, it would make me think because I think they're going to win by a touchdown because Aaron Rodgers, that's what he does. He scores touchdowns. Like Mike said, Bills' defense is exceptional. The problem is in this league now, the way it's built, your defense used to be able to win you ball games. Now when you've got a great defense like the Bills have, it keeps you in games. It can't win you games, especially with the Bills' offense the way it is currently because they don't finish drives. They did exactly in Denver what they've done all season, move the ball between the 30s. They can't finish for touchdowns. I think that's still the case despite the fact that Green Bay's defense got a bit exposed this week. I think the Bills keep it close like they've done with teams all year. But Green Bay is the better team. They got the better offense, and Aaron Rodgers scores touchdowns.
Alrighty, I'm going to steal a line from you. One of my favorite lines that you ever said, and as long as they're bad, it applies. It says the Buffalo gets everybody's worst game. Nobody gets up to play for the Bills. Green Bay coming in there, I think they're due for a soft game. I like Bills. I'll take the points. The crew likes Green Bay -5. Danny, give us another game.
I'm going Philly over Dallas. I think it's just a good matchup. We saw it on Thanksgiving, the way they destroyed the Cowboys. And as we were talking about earlier before the show, when a team gets blown out the way Philly did this week, I mean,
a good team.
Chip Kelly's going to have that team's attention this week going into Dallas, especially with how important that ball game is.
John?
New England gets revenge from opening day. I like them at home, 7.5. The Dolphins starting to wear down, at least defensively. Tom Brady at home. They're fighting for the #1 seed. I think the Patriots put a beat down on the Dolphins on Sunday.
Right.
I'm going to take a team that is in disarray and probably has no business being in a game, but I just have this weird feeling that they will. I'm going to take San Francisco getting the points. They're getting 10 from Seattle.
That's huge.
Seattle is very good. They are very efficient. But even this, I watched them offensively, and they are still as good as Wilson can be. They're still rather limited. San Francisco plays defense, embarrassed by the last time these teams played. I think San Francisco hangs around the game, low-scoring game. It's 10 points in a division game.
Geez, I like all those picks. I'm going to take Cincinnati, pick them at Cleveland against Johnny Manziel. If Cincinnati's at all legitimate as a playoff team, they got to go in there and beat a team that's playing quarterback for the first time. And the crew sides with Danny. They like the Eagles -3.5 against the Cowboys.
Big game, Mike.
Like it or not, when we return. This segment of the Rochester Press Box is brought to you by the Distillery. 4 convenient locations, the Distillery, your choice destination for Sunday brunch with great food and drink specials, plus all of the games. The Distillery, a Best of Rochester award winner. Tap into good times at the Distillery. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Our Like It or Not segment is brought to you by our friends at the Distillery, the home of the Eagles Nest, a collection of really obnoxious people rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles. Sunday night against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
You can also get Wine Down Wednesdays, half-price bottles of wine every Wednesday at the Distillery.
You will get to hear them do the EAGLES Eagles and sing the fight song during the game.
And this
Fly,
one, I was
Eagles, fly.
amazed
Fly.
at the number of them, and
It's-
they're loud.
Yes.
Have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard the touchdown song?
Yeah. You better not say anything
Danny's
bad
ripping
about
it.
Fly,
It's-
Eagles, Fly.
It's a little lame.
On the
Well,
road
for the
to
reputation
victory.
Philly has, and you hear the whole crowd sing.
It was from the 60s.
Danny, like it or not, the college football Final Four.
Making fun of
Love it. Absolutely love it. I think it was on this show, talked about how I thought eventually it would go to 8 teams. I hope it stays at 4. I love the controversy. I love, first of all, the top 2 teams is automatic. Florida State, when they beat Georgia Tech, became obvious. And then the 3 teams that were after that, Baylor and TCU and then Ohio State, who made it, I mean, they were all close. So if you're with Baylor, if you're TCU, if you're Ohio State, look, Ohio State had the blowout win at the end of the season. I understand why they got in. But I love that it's 4 teams. I hope it stays that way. Like I said, I love all the conversation, the controversy.
I liked it
about
at every checkpoint,
Yeah.
but it's still kind of funny that there's 5 super conferences and 4 teams. The committee's going to take it on the short end every time
Well,
that they have to try to make that division work.
Until the Big 12 gets a conference game, they're kind of off the hook. The committee. Until the Big 12 can get 2 more teams, they kind of buy themselves some time. Maybe by then they'll expand it. I hope they don't.
And look at what they got. They got the East, the Midwest, they got the South, they got the West, and they got the defending champions.
Yeah.
They got 2 Heisman Trophy winners because Mariota's going to win. And by the way, I can say now that I voted for him because this won't air until the time for the vote. But obviously, he's going to win the Heisman, and 2 superstar coaches. I think
I
they
mean,
did
not
great.
that any of those things were supposed to factor in, but it's kind of funny that it worked
For
out that
fans,
way.
unless you're a
Yep.
Baylor or a TCU fan.
Yeah, but
like-
they weren't allowed to consider any of that.
Right, but
There it is.
worked out, yeah.
And Baylor had hired a public relations agency. For me, it was anybody but Baylor. So I got what I wanted. Mike, like it or not, Magic Johnson claims that the Lakers should try to lose them all.
All right, see, the problem here is Magic's one of the all-time winners, but the problem is, Magic, you're a little late to the party. And I really am a believer in this because I'm a Sixers fan. Tanking, as everybody says, is not about just trying to lose games. Sometimes you get lucky and it's LeBron James and he's the guy. It's about acquiring assets. It's about committing to it. It's about doing it, I'll say, like the Sixers have done it. You've got Michael Carter-Williams. You've got Nerlens Noel. You've got Joel Embiid. You've got Saric that's playing in Europe. You're going to have another number 1. They have done a good job of acquiring assets, much like the Buffalo Sabres in a way. Now, the difference is for a team like the Sabres, there's a guy out there this year or 2 that you've got to try to get that can change your franchise. Magic's coming to it kind of late. The Lakers always pretend like they're in it. They're not. They've got a guy who shoots the ball 35 times a game and is not giving that up and is making $30 million a year. Different kind of franchise. Much like the Knicks in a way. They're pretending to still be in it. And I don't know if it'll work for a team that isn't going to totally commit to being really bad and then be good.
Johnny, if we're going to agree that it's a bad thing for 20% of any given league to go out and try not to win, how do we stop this?
Well, you can't. How do you do it? Unless you change the entire lottery. Unless you start rewarding teams who win top draft picks. If you reverse it, if you flip it, if you win the title, you pick first overall. Right? Is that radical? You're being
pretty
rewarded.
radical.
If you think about it, you're being rewarded for being awful. You're being penalized for being successful. Right?
Which is the way it's always been
Over
set
in
up.
England, if you win whatever the soccer league, if you win the title, you get the
We're
first overall
really
pick.
going to take our
I'm just
lessons
saying,
off of English.
I'm
And a
just saying,
relegation, no less.
that's how you would change tanking.
And here's the other thing. Keep
Why
this in
not?
mind. The players on the ice, the players on the court are not trying to lose. Okay?
No.
They're trying
the GM
to do...
is trying to lose by putting together
No,
a
the
conglomerate
GM
of,
is trying to get the benefit
Yeah.
that goes with finishing that way. The worst place to be, is what Magic said, is mediocre or lying to your fans, like the Knicks do.
I'm waiting for a team to fire a coach because he won too much.
look how the
You know,
Knicks-
the Philadelphia loses that coach because you won.
You're going
10
to end up with the
games.
number
year,
1 pick.
We're going to end number 1 pick, and all that money comes off
Delusional.
the book. It
I
comes
keep
off the
telling
books.
him, delusional.
All the money comes off the
This
books.
portion of the
Delusional.
Rochester Press Box is brought to you by the Distillery. Unfinished business when we return. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Time for unfinished business. Johnny.
You know, in years past, the winter meetings meant the Yankees would always get the headlines. They would overspend. If the old man was still alive, the Yankees probably would have spent about $500 million by now. What have they done? In somewhat of a surprising move, the Yankees, who are in desperate need of good players, let one of their homegrown good players get away in David Robertson. You know, for years, Mariano Rivera always gave the Yankees a hometown discount. They paid him anywhere between, 10 to 13 mil. David Robertson gets a 4-year contract worth over $40 million. Well, the Yankees don't feel as if they should ante up and keep a closer. Take a page from the Kansas City Royals. You could actually get to the postseason with good starting pitching and, more importantly, a great bullpen. With the addition of Andrew Miller and the emergence of Dellin Betances, and with Robertson, hey, the Yankees could probably only need a starter to go 5, if not 6 innings. The Yankees are in a whole heap of trouble. They're trying to keep guys like Chase Headley, right? Rather than, I'm not the biggest fan of David Robertson, but he was a guy the Yankees should have kept, and they're in a whole heap of trouble coming into 2015. This may be a 3rd consecutive season.
So it's kind of funny you talk about, if they could have shortened the games to 6 innings if they kept Robertson, but they can't win him in 9, you can't win him in 6.
I didn't like the fact they traded Shane Green away. I thought he was a good young arm. He went to Detroit in that 3-team trade. This is going to be another long season for the Yankees.
It's a miserable time to be a New York sports fan.
Yeah, it's just awful, isn't it? It's just really terrible. Danny?
Aaron Rodgers, quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, is playing at the highest level of quarterback we've ever seen in the NFL. Now, you can say it's because of the rule changes, and I'll nod my head yes, because, yes, the rules have gotten easier for quarterbacks. But then why has this guy separated himself from the rest of the pack when we have a bunch of elite quarterbacks in this league? Tom Brady's still at a high level. Peyton Manning was just in the Super Bowl last year putting up crazy numbers. Andrew Luck having a fantastic year, as is a guy like Ben Roethlisberger who's got 2 Super Bowl rings already, and still Rodgers is playing at a separate level from the rest of those guys in the league right now. He comes into Orchard Park this week. Doesn't matter, rain, snow, wind, whatever. The guy in Lambeau Field at the frozen tundra, 34 touchdowns since his last interception. It's like he's got cheat codes in video games at this point. Watching Aaron Rodgers is the best show on TV, and Bills fans are going to get a chance to witness that this weekend. Hopefully the defense is able to keep it close, but Bills fans, as T.O. used to say, get that popcorn ready.
That's one of those, when we were talking about, the new ownership and how grateful everyone should be. The fact is, it would be nice if they were winning, but to have the Buffalo Bills in town afford us the opportunity to, when a guy's having a year like Aaron Rodgers, he's coming here and we can see him play.
Yeah, for me, the best part about Monday night, he didn't get hurt. I get a chance to see the guy live for the first time.
He's had a GM who's put good talent around him, offensive talent. He sat for 3 years, and he's had the same coach his entire career in Mike McCarthy, who's very, very good.
I had somebody email me this week and say the Bills should get Aaron Rodgers. And I thought, well, that's a really good move, don't you think?
I'd be cool with that.
Serious, I did. Okay. Does anybody in sports seem to enjoy their job less than Syracuse basketball coach Jim Boeheim? And I know he's always been cranky, and I know he's always been Boeheim. But have we not reached the point now with Coach Boeheim? I don't particularly like this team. I don't like the way he's handling this team. I don't like the way he talks about guys coming in and then going out. Can Syracuse basketball survive when the day after Jim Boeheim is done coaching? I want to see that day. Chris McCullough is a good example. McCullough comes in, Boeheim talks about him being a one-year guy, talking about these things, and then it's suggested by some other people that he could get drafted in the top 10. And then Boeheim rips all the reporters and then actually has the nerve to say, parents read this stuff and this influences kids. You've been there 50 years. You're in the Hall of Fame. You can't influence the parents of the kid on the team more than some article on ESPN.com? Jim, I know it's hard for you. Smile sometime. Enjoy the game or coach your team a little bit better. Stop blaming everybody else, and maybe we can look to the time when somebody else is on the sidelines for Syracuse.
When is the appropriate time for that? We were talking about that earlier. I mean, how do you make the judgment on a guy like Jim Boeheim?
I think there's a level of it's that level of arrogance there with him. And again, he's forgotten more basketball than any of us will ever know. But at a certain point, when do you turn it over? He doesn't seem to enjoy it. And by the way, all the people who say guys can get better at Syracuse, yes, I guess it can. But when you're talking about NBA level talent, Michael Carter-Williams would never in a million years improve as much at Syracuse as he has in the NBA, and he's getting paid like Tyler Ennis and the other guys who came out. That's why guys leave early.
We'd like to thank our sponsorship of the distillery, where the kitchen is always open late. We appreciate that they're part of this program. John, thank you very much.
Billy, great job.
Michael,
today.
great job.
Thank you.
Danny, nice to have you in again. We'll do it again real soon.
Always fun.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week when Jody Gage will be sitting in Moriarty's seat trying to live up to the high standard he set for it. Thanks again for watching the original Rochester Press Box.